Welcome back to the Deep Dive. You've brought us a truly extraordinary stack of source material today, a narrative set in a future so technologically advanced, it almost feels like high fantasy.
It really does.
Yet it's driven by the most ancient human failings, greed, resentment, and this terrifying belief that the ends always justify the means.
Indeed. We are diving into a world of radical longevity, these huge ethical nightmares, and a generational conspiracy that's been simmering for over 50 years.
So what's our mission here with all this dense material?
Our mission is to navigate this incredibly complex future history, a history defined by something called the crash and the invention of immortality, and really to extract the core insights. Who is truly fighting for control, what terrifying new technology is at stake, and maybe most importantly, why the past is the most dangerous weapon in this so-called new utopia.
The stakes couldn't be higher. It feels like we're witnessing a battle for the soul of humanity. It's waged between the true old, these architects of survival who literally saved the species,
Right.
and these corporate Goliaths, Picocon and Omicron A, who are now basically claiming sovereignty over the future.
And that technological shift is the first thing that just hits you. It's a world where the physical risks we take for granted have, well, they've just evaporated for the wealthy.
Absolutely. The source material wastes no time at all introducing this reality. It describes how people routinely take risks that would have meant, instant death a century ago.
Like falling from a building.
Exactly. A careless person could fall from a great height, say 20 or 30 stories, and provided they have the highest grade internal technology, they will almost certainly survive.
It's just incredible. This flirtation with catastrophe becomes mere sport for the children of the revolution.
It's more than just survival, though, isn't it? It's about instant recovery.
Oh, absolutely. This covert superhumanity is delivered by nanotech repairmen operating inside your body, minimizing pain, staunching internal bleeding, and basically turning the consequences of recklessness into a temporary inconvenience.
But, and this is the critical distinction we have to make right away, this invincibility is not universal.
Not at all.
It immediately establishes the core societal division between the truly young, who are fully reliant on this tech, and the allegedly rejuvenated.
And that's the key. Let's unpack that psychological and physical spectrum of life, because understanding how technology is stratified is, I think, the key to unlocking the whole conspiracy.
Right, let's get into it.
So when we examine the social structure, we have to start with the foundational tech. Internal technology, or IT.
IT is everything.
Yeah.
For the elite, it guarantees life. It's constantly monitoring, constantly repairing. It's what ensures survival, offering this unparalleled level of resilience.
It turns what would be a massive physiological trauma into something that can be fixed while you wait for the ambulance.
Or sometimes even before it gets there.
Exactly. But this reliance, it creates a profound psychological asymmetry, particularly when we look at the older generation, the centenarians, like Silas Arnett, who's so central to this plot.
Right, Silas. He's physically rejuvenated, so he looks decades younger than he is, thanks to the nanotech that slowed his biological clock.
But his sentimental education, as the source puts it, took place in the older world, the world of genuine physical risk, before this nanotech revolution was fully mature.
So his reflexes and his basic visceral understanding of risk were developed in a world where a bad fall meant a coma, or worse.
Right, so even though his IT is superior, he can't trust it absolutely. He knows the system can fail. Or worse, it can be targeted.
And that is such a crucial point. The older generation, those who had their clocks slowed in the 2120s after already aging into their 30s or 40s, they always carry that subconscious fear of genuine mortality.
And you contrast that with the truly young, like Catherine Prail. She was born into this reality. For her, survival to age 120 is virtually assured, barring extreme violence.
Their minds are described as soft, not because of deterioration, but because they've never had to focus on self-preservation in the way previous generations did.
And Silas, the old man, he finds this artifice beautiful. He sees it as a testament to the success of the new utopia.
And this success leads directly to the concept that defines their entire society, immortality.
Yes. It's not immortality, which they see as this, theological impossibility.
Right.
It's the practical abolition of death by aging or natural disease.
That distinction is so vital. It means they've solved the biological certainty of death, but they have explicitly not solved the problem of entropy.
Exactly. They acknowledge that death by injury or by extreme deliberate violence, that remains a very real possibility.
That's the catch, isn't it? You can't die of a heart attack, but you can absolutely die of a gunshot wound or a massive cerebral hemorrhage.
And the best IT in the world is impotent against that kind of rapid, catastrophic trauma.
So the powerful have traded the slow certainty of biological failure for the sudden possibility of, well, violent removal. It adds this fascinating layer of philosophical jeopardy to a world that otherwise just seems completely optimized.
It really does. Now, moving beyond the internal tech, we have to talk about the net.
The net.
For this long-lived, educated populace, the omniscient net holds all the answers at arm's length, which, should lead to unparalleled wisdom.
But it doesn't.
No. Silas Arnett astutely notes the paradox. People stop bothering to keep wisdom in their heads. They rely entirely on this external knowledge base, which makes ignorance more dangerous than ever before.
And what thrives in that kind of environment?
Right.
The business of manufacturing experience.
Exactly. Which brings us to our protagonist, Damon Hart. He's a key player here, a virtual experience, or VE, designer and editor.
He's making all these commercial products, phone links, training tapes, dramas, games, and something called porny pops, which are basically short, immersive, sexually themed VR artifacts.
And Damon, he sees himself as a maker. He's all about mastering the technical side of the business. And this is so crucial because he is actively trying to distance himself from his past life.
A past life of being a doer.
A street fighter, someone who engaged in messy physical reality.
But his career immediately throws up this powerful ethical dilemma, and it involves his partner, Diana.
Yes. Damon uses her body template, her digitized appearance and mannerisms as raw material for his commercial fantasies.
And Diana finds this absolutely repulsive.
Diana argues that the technology lets Damon retreat into a virtuous world of virtual imagery that is just better than the real world. Brighter, cleaner, and more controllable.
She sees him preferring her virtual shadow, a programmed, compliant slave, to the unpredictable reality of her actual self.
Yeah, and her accusation is so personal and profound. She says when Damon uses her appearance in these products, she feels, it's me you're doing it to and no one else.
Wow.
She believes he is reducing her to a piece of intellectual property that he can control absolutely.
And what's Damon's defense?
It's entirely technical. He says he needs the template for practice, and he promises he'll eventually modify the digital likeness so you can't recognize her.
But that's not the point, is it?
Not at all. The underlying conflict remains. In this new utopia, where technology blurs the line between self and asset, who owns your digital ghost?
Diana just wants time in the actual world, arguing that reality has a value that synthesis can't replicate, even if reality is messier and far less controllable.
And that debate perfectly encapsulates the philosophical rot at the core of this perfect-looking future.
And while the intellectual elite are debating the ownership of digital shadows, the real world, outside the pristine supercities, reveals this brutal economic reality.
It really does. It exposes the vast disparity in access to that life-assuring technology.
So we move to the Badlands, a derelict suburban wasteland.
Where illegal street fights are a major business run by operators like Maddox Tamlin. And these aren't just disorganized brawls, they are high-stakes gambling operations.
And the participants, often teenagers like Lenny Guerin, they fight for a single, desperate purpose.
Money for advanced IT upgrades.
It's the ultimate brutal irony of a longevity society, isn't it? They're literally risking their guaranteed futures for the privilege of accessing this security technology that the wealthy just consider mandatory maintenance.
And because they lack that high-grade IT, they are horribly vulnerable to pain and the risk of death. A deep cut or severe blood loss, which would be instantly staunched and repaired in an affluent person.
For them, it's genuinely life-threatening.
Yes, they are functionally mortal in a world of immortality.
Maddox Tamlin really emphasizes this brutal economic logic to Lenny. He tells him directly, your chances of long-term survival are directly proportional to your upgrade prospects.
The fight for immortality is a high-cost economic ladder. You have to earn enough money to afford the nanotech that ensures you will live long enough to enjoy the money you earned. It's a vicious cycle.
And the philosophical backdrop to this desperation is framed by this antique graffiti that Maddox has appropriated for his venue.
Live fast, die young, leave a beautiful corpse.
That slogan is ridiculous on its face for a generation that should live 200 years.
But in the Badlands, it takes on a dark new meaning. These kids crave danger, not just for the money, but Maybe because risk is the only thing that separates them from the sterile, predictable lives of the rich.
They're seeking real sensation and real stakes, even if it means dying an old-fashioned violent death. They are fighting the economic system that denies them the safety of immortality.
And this profound inequality, this two-tiered longevity, is the direct result of a monstrous, century-old crime. A crime committed in the name of human survival.
And that crime is the historical foundation of the entire current conspiracy.
Exactly. So we have to understand the historical trauma that created this society. It's what allowed men like Silas Arnett and his colleagues to take this unprecedented control over the human species.
This takes us back to the crash.
The world leading up to the crash was just unsustainable. We are talking about a planet with over 10 billion naturally born people crammed into super cities, choked by pollution.
And lifespans were already increasing due to early medical advances, which just resulted in catastrophic population growth.
It was the ultimate Malthusian nightmare come true. The prevailing view among the scientific elite was that this population explosion had to be contained. Otherwise, war, famine, and disease wouldn't just be negative factors, they'd be necessary factors in human affairs, just to reset the balance.
So the crisis was triggered by the Third Plague War,
which resulted in the global sterilization plague. Whether it was accidental or engineered, the sources are a bit ambiguous on the origin, but its effect was absolute.
Humanity was facing extinction.
Because reproduction simply stopped. And this is where Conrad Hellier enters the story, viewed by his allies as the savior of the species.
Hellier perfected the artificial womb, the new reproductive system, or NRS.
He used ectogenetic technology, and it saved humanity from going extinct. But that salvation came with a non-negotiable ethical price tag, what Hellier called the major point of principle.
Which was?
Given the extreme longevity now possible and the limited resources of the planet, citizens must postpone reproduction until after death.
Which means universal sterilization was enacted.
To ensure fertility was brought under absolute and meticulous control.
That is a staggering act of social engineering. Hillier's team essentially took the choice of having children away from an entire generation.
And they did it to guarantee that nanotech longevity, when it finally became available, wouldn't immediately lead back to resource scarcity and demographic collapse.
So this history, this foundational crime, is weaponized decades later.
It is. In the form of the simulated trial we see in the Eliminator tape, where Silas Arnett is the focal point.
The charges themselves are just monumental. Silas Arnett, Eveline Highwood, Carol Kachalek, and others are charged with conspiring to cause actual bodily harm.
Right.
Specifically, the irreversible disabling of reproductive organs to an estimated 7 billion individuals between 2095 and 2120.
7 billion.
They're also charged with collaborating in the design and distribution of the sterilization agents, the meiotic disruptors or chiasmolytic transformers.
7 billion people sterilized. That is a scale of demographic control that is it's just incomprehensible. It's effectively replacing individual biological destiny with centralized policy.
And the sources provide this chilling justification, which is presented in the captured Silas Arnett's fake confession.
And the defense basically is that the crash and the sterilization were absolutely necessary to prevent irredeemable eco-catastrophe.
They saw themselves as heroes.
Fighting the ultimate war, a war to end that kind of warfare against the negative checks of nature. They believe they exercised the least worst option, forcing humanity to adopt stability because individual liberty regarding procreation had become a global threat.
And this is where the ethical discussion becomes so non-negotiable.
Yeah.
While the new utopia exists and thrives, and the truly young now find natural birth frankly repulsive.
Yeah, they see it as messy, uncontrolled, old-fashioned.
The older generation who were sterilized still harbors this profound resentment. They feel they were robbed of self-determination. Their bodies were changed without their consent for the greater good.
And this division runs deep into the core of the new utopia's legitimacy. Was Hellier a visionary savior who secured humanity's long future, or was he a totalitarian criminal who dictated the most fundamental biological choice for billions?
And that contested history is exactly what the current conspiracy is weaponizing.
Absolutely. Now that we understand the historical weight and the technological foundation, we can look at the current conflict,
which explodes with the kidnapping of Silas Arnett, marking a shift from ethical debate to outright assassination.
The initial execution of the kidnapping shows this incredible technical sophistication of the attackers. Silas is snatched from his hidden, old-fashioned home chosen specifically for its physical privacy.
A rare commodity in this net-saturated world.
And crucially, his internal defenses are deliberately targeted and disabled. This isn't a simple physical assault. It's a high-tech breach of his most secure personal systems.
So the nanotech must be flushed out or neutralized somehow?
Right, maybe by some kind of targeted pulse. It renders him physically vulnerable for the first time in decades. He's bound, isolated, and forced into a virtual courtroom environment, facing a masked judge figure with a machine-enhanced voice.
And the immediate aftermath is the release of the Eliminator tape by this group called Operator 101.
Declaring absolute proof that Conrad Helier is an enemy of mankind. What's fascinating and highly sophisticated is that the torturer explicitly tells Silas they didn't need to make the tape look real.
It is deliberately edited to look fake.
Yes.
Why? Why create a fake-looking fake?
Because the goal isn't to convince the public of its authenticity. It's about muddying the waters, creating massive uncertainty, and forcing Helier's allies out of the shadows.
So the underlying message that charges against them is what matters. They're weaponizing doubt itself.
And it works because Helier's allies immediately counterpunch. A second confession tape is leaked, likely by Eveline or Carol.
And in this version.
The captured Silas defends the original sterilization as necessary and justified.
So this confirms that reality itself is the battlefield. We have two competing narratives of a forced confession, both probably containing edited, manipulated truths.
The enemy is not just the conspirators, but the collapse of epistemological certainty. Who do you trust when everyone can manufacture evidence of anything?
And into this maelstrom of violence and manufactured truth steps Damon Hart.
He is targeted precisely because he is Conrad Helier's biological son. He even changed his name from Helier at 16 to escape the legacy.
But it finds him anyway. He gets a cryptic note, then a visit from Interpol's Yamanaka confirming his identity, his lineage, and the fact that he inherited a massive trust fund.
And then Operator 101 elevates the attack, publicly accusing Damon of being Conrad Helier himself, who's supposedly using the name Damon Hart.
They name him an enemy of mankind.
Which forces Damon to turn back to his foster parents, Silas, Carol, Eveline, and seek help from the Ahasuerus Foundation.
That's the nonprofit longevity research group established by Adam Zimmerman, the man who stole the world, which is a fascinating side note.
It is. It suggests Zimmerman might be another one of these early longevity pioneers.
So Damon is now caught between the two colossal technological cartels that effectively run the planet.
Picocon and Omicron, the two towers that control 70% of the domestic nanotech and biotech business.
And while they are rivals, Picocon holds a slight advantage because of the GAN's patents. They function as a unified cartel when they're faced with a common threat.
Right. They maintain market control, suppress competition, and jointly decide the pace of technological release.
And as Damon investigates, the violence becomes lethal and highly targeted.
Carol Kachelik's boat, the Kite, is destroyed near Molokai. Then Silas Arnett is shot in the chest, his internal nanotech flushed out, and his body is just dumped in the road.
The flushing of a nanotech is so crucial.
It is. It shows that the attackers, led by corporations, possess the means to not only temporarily disable, but permanently remove the life assurance systems.
It's an execution delivered specifically to negate the core promise of the new utopia, that you will not die of violence.
Then there's the gruesome discovery by Maddock Tamlin, a tortured body and a VE pack, later assumed to belong to Surinder Nahal.
An old rival of Helier's over ectogenetic patent rights.
Which suggests that the corporate actors or their agents are leveraging these decades-old grudges to eliminate potential witnesses or anyone who might understand the true threat.
But the question remains, why go to these lethal extremes against these people who, even if they committed historical crimes, are now just focused on theoretical science?
And the answer lies in their highly secretive research into a non-DNA life system they call para-DNA.
This isn't just a new discovery. It's a whole new biology.
A whole new biology. Para-DNA coils like the traditional double helix but has entirely different subunits and no common ancestor with carbon chain evolution. It's life, but not as we know it.
And they found it in these exotic, disparate locations.
Right. Carol Kachelik, the chemist, was looking for chemosynthetic life in deep ocean vents, hypothesizing that multiple chemistries could sustain life.
While Eveline Highwood, the panspermist, believed this life originated outside Earth. She was searching for it in dust samples from the outer solar system, maybe the Oort cloud.
This is the ultimate prize. This research is critical because it offers the potential to bridge the gap between organic and inorganic molecular machines. It's the missing link.
promising an entirely new, radical form of nanotech.
The applications are literally world-changing. It offers unimaginable power-new weapons, but also the technology for rapid, large-scale terraforming needed for seeding Mars and the asteroid colonies.
And while Eveline insists the objective is purely enlightenment, not commerce.
The megacorps see only unprecedented profit and control. Helier's team is being attacked because their para-DNA research is a loose cannon.
An independent, radical technology that threatens the carefully managed, controlled monopoly held by Picocon and Omicron.
They must own it, or they must ensure it never destabilizes the current regime.
The narrative then climaxes when Damon is drawn directly to the corporate heart, an artificial center of power that his captors unironically call Olympus.
Right. Damon's investigation leads him to the Molokai bunker, where he is promptly kidnapped a second time by Singh and Greason.
He's taken to a fake volcanic island hideout, a luxurious, expanded nuclear bunker that's been dressed up to look like an exclusive resort.
But the true technological revelation happens when he's transferred into a revolutionary next-generation VE experience, a lucid dream.
And this is tech that Damon, who's an expert in the field, didn't even think existed yet.
Not at this level. He is convinced he is awake, walking through an impossible crystalline castle on a sheer-sided mountain, having a conversation. But the antagonist, the Mirror Man, casually reveals that Damon is actually lying down on a perfectly ordinary bed, fast asleep.
So you think he's awake, but he's completely unconscious.
Completely! This technology is designed to completely bypass all five senses, feeding the experience directly into the brain while the body is quiescent. It is the ultimate tool of control and psychological manipulation.
It proves that the corporate powers are operating on a level far beyond the public eye.
And the Mirror Man is revealed to be Frederick Gant's sole heir to the crucial Gant's patents and a high-level Picocon representative.
So the purpose of this whole elaborate demonstration is not entertainment.
No, it is to deliver a non-negotiable mandate to Helier through his son.
Saul and his allies, the corporate they're the new gods of Olympus. They assert that they own the world and have decreed the rules of the future.
And the message is crystal clear. Helier and his team must stop trying to play a lone hand and join the club.
Their world-shaping projects, especially para-DNA, must be integrated into the corporate structure. They're demanding conformity over innovation.
They're not seeking partnership, they're demanding allegiance. This demonstration of psychological control through the lucid dream VE is their calling card, showcasing their absolute power over perception and reality.
And the ultimate truth is revealed not by Saul, but by Silas Arnett,
who has miraculously survived the shooting and the nanotech flush.
Silas confirms the rumor. Conrad Helier is alive.
He faked his death 50 years ago. The death tape and DNA evidence were completely fabricated.
Wow. So he's been pulling the strings from the shadows for 50 years. His entire gospel of posthumous reproduction was a policy dictated from the grave.
And Silas reveals the deeper motivation for the deception and for the current para-DNA project.
Haley became deeply disillusioned with the new utopia he helped create.
Deeply. He felt the old world shadows, its corruption, stagnation, lack of real ambition, still cast too deep and dark a shadow. New technology was just preserving the past, not elevating the species.
So Hiller's conclusion was, well, utterly ruthless and breathtaking in scope.
He believed the only way to reestablish unity and progressive impetus on Earth, especially to support the Lagrangeist space pioneers, was to introduce a manufactured external crisis.
That crisis was para-DNA, rebranded as an all-purpose alien invader.
Exactly. It is harmless initially, but the fear of its versatility, once revealed, would unite Earth against a common external threat.
He was willing to cause destructive power against property-destroying infrastructure, not killing people, just to achieve this unity.
He saw it as forcing evolution through collective manufactured fear.
And Saul, now fully aware of the plan, steps in with the counteroffer.
Saul offers the classic two-pronged approach, the stick. If Helier proceeds with this artificial alien threat, Picocon will eliminate him and his team with lethal force, guaranteeing the corporate masters maintain control.
And the carrot.
The carrot is enticing. A just and permanent peace in exchange for immediate control of the para-DNA research. Saul argues that true progress comes from ambition and managed expansion, not manufactured fear.
So he promises real-world opportunities that far outweigh the limited rewards of synthetic experience.
He frames Picocon not as the villain, but as the only entity capable of managing humanity's ascent responsibly.
So with Helios' plan exposed and nullified, Saul and the corporate allies have solidified their control. They now own the trajectory of longevity.
And Saul offers Damon a prime position within Picocon or Omicron. He notes that it comes to the same thing in the end, really emphasizing the unity of the corporate cartel.
But Damon, reeling from the lucid dream and the magnitude of his father's plan, challenges the core corporate philosophy in what the source calls the Great Escalator Debate.
He does. He posits the ultimate cynical view. What if Picocon already has the secret to true, permanent immortality, but reserves it only for the favored few at the absolute summit?
And if that summit has been claimed in perpetuity, what then?
Then, Damon argues, the philosophy of elimination, the violence we see in the Badlands, the targeted assassinations, stops being a tragedy and starts becoming a valuable asset for those just below the top tier.
Those who are eager for a few funerals to inherit the remaining crown. He's suggesting that corporate control inherently breeds violence in the lower tiers.
Saul, of course, dismisses this. He argues that war over ownership would destroy the prize of longevity. But the seed of doubt is planted. The system rewards those who control life itself.
In the end, Damon rejects the corporate game. He argues that conflict should not be mortal. Everybody should get a chance at real life, whether they're team players or not.
He realizes his rebellion, his life as a street fighter and VE artist, was, in the end, futile in the face of this systemic power.
But he is given no true choice. The final crushing observation from Rachel Trehane at the Oswald Foundation confirms the new reality.
Damon is forced to buy into Saul's dream because Hellier's team and all independent scientific endeavors cannot avoid towing the line against the unified megacorp who now own the Earth.
The era of independent scientific genius radically reshaping the world as Hellier once did.
Yeah.
It's over.
It's completely over. The future of the species is now managed, centralized, and controlled by Olympus.
What an astonishingly detailed and complex narrative. The sources paint a picture where power is defined not just by wealth, but by control over molecular machines and the manufacturing of both sensation and fear.
The key synthesis here is that the corporate masters, Saul and the Picocon cartel, they executed a perfect hostile takeover of the future.
A complete one.
Yeah. They leveraged historical guilt, the 7 billion sterilized old grudges, like with Nahal, and the profound fear of technological disruption, which was para-DNA, to enforce absolute conformity among the most brilliant minds on the planet.
This entire plot reinforces the value of critical thinking in a world that's defined by manufactured reality. Damon's journey teaches us that the ability to identify the true source of power, to see past the fake eliminator tapes and discern the motives behind the terrifyingly real lucid dream VE is the only effective defense.
It is the truth weaponized, and if you can't analyze the signal from the noise, you are functionally powerless, regardless of your nanotech upgrades.
And this brings us back so powerfully to the inheritance question. Is the promise of immortality and a long future a right inherent to every human born? Or is it merely highly valued property, a commodity to be hoarded and rationed by those who reach the summit first?
The consolidation of power under Picocon and Omicron strongly suggests the latter. They are now the gatekeepers, deciding not only what new technology is released, but when the great escalator of progress advances, and who gets to ride it.
And that leaves us with a provocative final thought, one that really lingers long after this deep dive concludes.
Hellier, a man who saved humanity from extinction, concluded that the only viable path to progress and unity was to manufacture an all-purpose alien invader.
Right.
If the world's most sophisticated minds believe that fear not ambition, not enlightenment, is the only remaining engine of collective action in a stable, long-lived society, what terrible trade-off did humanity make when it chose immortality?
Is manufactured fear the secret ingredient required to make utopia function?
And, I guess more chillingly, what happens when those who control the fear realize that eliminating the lower tiers is easier than managing them?
Something to mull over.
Until next time.